Universal's Epic Universe is upon the horizon, releasing within what is assumed to be a year, and Disney has stayed quiet for the most part until now. At D23, they have officially announced a few projects that are not blue sky, but are actually in development. Along with those announcements comes a lot of discussion. Not controversy, but discussion. And I want to discuss a few of my points because, in all honesty, this is a pretty big moment for both Universal and Disney. And it is very important right now that Disney sticks a landing to stay in competition with Universal, or at least to stop Universal from taking such a big market share of Disney's kingdom of untouchable theme parkedness. That is an official term, thank you. So sit back, buckle in, join me on this little journey of complaining, but possibly niceness. Now, building these theme park attractions takes a lot of work, a lot of creativity, a lot of trying to understand what a guest is looking for, while also making sure you're not breaking the bank. Universal has been doing a pretty good job of trying to stay ahead of the curve with its ride technology. This all started with Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, where they released a ride that, I don't know, kind of blew the doors open on what a dark ride could be with the KUKA arm technology. And since then, they've had this avid pursuit of trying to find the next best thing. And every ride, at least for me, has had some form of unique use of technology that other parks don't necessarily have. This has been utilized to great effect, and bad effect. I'm looking at you, Villains Con. But either way, Universal clearly has a very intense priority on making sure these experiences are new and fresh for the audience. Disney, not so much right now. A lot of these projects announced at D23 contain previous ride technology. There's nothing necessarily inherently bad with that, but when you look at the list of things they announced, which contain a couple EMV rides, 3 boat rides, a suspended roller coaster, and a KUKA arm ride, you can kind of see that there's not really any interesting ideas coming from the ride technology being utilized. That being said, there are rides that haven't been announced yet that could still surprise us, but that is still a hefty amount of rides that are not necessarily going to be new and refreshing. So the question becomes, do you need a ride that's new and refreshing to be good? And in all honesty, you don't. You really, really don't. These rides can have something interesting. There is a rumor about the Monsters Inc. suspended roller coaster that does have a unique element to it that hasn't been seen before, which could set it apart. But the fact that these rides are mainly using previously released ride technology does run a risk of these rides becoming stale. The biggest example I can use of this right now actually is from Disney themselves with Star Wars Land, or Galaxy's Edge as they want you to call it. When it first opened, we had Smuggler's Run. Fantastic ride by everyone's accounts when it first opened. I loved the thing. I thought it was great being in interactive video game that no other ride had really done before. The closest you could get to this is basically Buzz Lightyear, at least within the same park, and this is on a whole other level. The level of immersion was fantastic. And then time happened. Over time, the ride started to get stale. Then Rise of the Resistance comes out with a bunch of new, fresh ideas. Yes, it uses a bunch of old ride technology, but it uses it in a way that's refreshing and cool. Putting a motion simulator within a drop tower is insane. The public understood that as well. This thing got glowing reviews as well, but it stayed consistent. Everyone wants to experience Rise of the Resistance. If you've already experienced Rise of the Resistance, you want to ride it again. If you are with someone that hasn't, you want to show them this ride. It is a mind-blowing experience. While Smuggler's Run slowly drifted off into the background as the motion simulator ride. These two rides are very unique and very advanced in technology. They tried to do that, but in essence, it still wasn't enough for Smuggler's Run to keep up not only with Rise of the Resistance, but in all honesty, the rest of the park. With how these announcements went, it almost kind of implies that they were more focused on trying to get rides out sooner than trying to wait for an interesting idea that might be fresh and exciting for the theme parks. Like I said, rides don't necessarily need to utilize new technology to be standout attractions, but it is showing a lack of passion that might need to be there to make a mark, which does bring me to my next point. It's hard to not see these announcements as a knee-jerk reaction to try and compete with Universal. It is evidenced with Villains Land, a land completely based upon villains. You're talking like Dark Universe over here? Look, there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, if Villains Land is given the proper love it needs, it could be something absolutely amazing. Disney has the rights to some of the most iconic villains in film in general, and to be able to put that into one land is very exciting. They've already done this with Villains Grove for the DCA Haunt event, and it was a great experience to walk through. If they could take that and flesh it to a whole land, they have a winner on their hands. But the lack of any other announcements regarding that, what attractions might be inside or anything like that, sure, you can see it as being hush-hush, but it also kind of reeks of, we needed to greenlight this so that we can compete with the Dark Universe. Now, the rest of the stuff doesn't necessarily show a competition with Universal, but it does bring up that valid point of, I'm really hoping that they're not just announcing all these things to compete with Universal on a time basis. Disney needs to focus on making these attractions as best as they can be. That's what's most important here, especially because they're using that older ride technology. You cannot just slap things together right now and just hope that the properties are going to bring in the customers. Disney and its many IPs, they would be silly to not make their rides based upon these best-selling franchises, right? Not necessarily. I mean, yes, the tactic is gonna work, let's be honest here. But there is more care that should be given to that whole process. Let's take Shanghai Disney, for example. They decided it was very important to try and focus on making new experiences out of other experiences at other Disney parks that worked very well. For example, you take Space Mountain, the most beloved of the mountains. You take that and you turn it into something else. We take the darkness of it, we take the high speed of it, and then we apply a Tron theme. What? Yeah, no, that did it though. That invigorated so many people to ride the new dark enclosed ride. They even did that with Cosmic Rewind as of recently. They also did it with Phantom Manor. They took the Haunted Mansion idea and turned it into a new story, which honestly competes very well with the classic Haunted Mansion. These are great ideas. They made a whole theme park on this idea of taking what was successful and changing it to make it new and refreshing. These new announcements don't feel like that necessarily. Yes, they're creating new attractions, but they're basing it on IPs that already worked, and not only that, they're basing it on rides that already worked. We're getting Avatar in California Adventure now. We're getting Cars Land in Walt Disney World now. I understand Disney has always done this. You always take one land that's successful in one park and also build it in the other park. This does promote people to be able to go to those parks to experience those lands without having to go across the country or across to another continent on the other side of the world. It's very useful to be able to make all of these lands easily accessible. But nowadays, I think it's actually more important that you give people that reason to travel by creating a new experience. This is something Disney actually understands well. It is Disney. It is huge. They have so many parks and so many IPs. Utilize those IPs. They are trying to but you have to utilize new ones, okay? Try and give people that reason to travel to another country. It might actually be a cool experience overall for that person. I know people that go to Tokyo all the time just to visit their Disney over there, and they are amazed. It's one of those things where you have so many properties, you actually should be utilizing that space instead of giving Cars Land in two different locations, especially because the casual theme park goer is not going to understand that two Cars Lands are two different things. They are not the same thing. They're going to think, why should I go to Florida to see that if I can just get it here in California Adventure? Once again, this is the casual park goer, but it is running a risk, especially if those experiences end up being the same. They are building a new Indiana Jones in Animal Kingdom. Yes, it's a new adventure, completely new, but it's using the same vehicles. It's using the same layout. You are totally going to put this in competition with its own ride in California. You're creating the same sort of Indiana Jones ride, but you're going to give it a new twist. Now, I should mention, there is a huge possibility, and I mean a huge possibility, that these rides are going to be fantastic, okay? That these rides are going to blow doors open with how amazing they are and how astounding they are. Honestly, a lot of what I've been saying this whole video could very well go out the window once these rides open and show how great they are. But that's not what I'm trying to get at right now. What I'm trying to get at right now is that there is an equal risk of the exact opposite happening. That they don't give these attractions the love and attention they deserve. That they don't try to make these rides unique experiences. That they rely too much on just trying to sell an IP and hoping that it works. Or, most importantly, that they rush these projects and they end up becoming extremely underwhelming just because they're trying to get it out in time to compete with Universal. These are very real risks that I've seen manifest in real attractions. I love Frozen. I am not ashamed to admit it. I love Frozen. Frozen Ever After is such an underwhelming experience because all they wanted to do was get a Frozen attraction in a park and replaced, honestly, one of my favorite boat rides by doing that. Look at the plans. We are in danger of having that happen with so many attractions in Walt Disney World, in Paris, and in California Adventure. So my point right now isn't, hey, Disney's gonna fail. Hey, Universal's gonna win. My point is right now that Disney needs to focus on the correct elements of these rides right now. I know Imagineers can do amazing things with limited resources. I've seen that Guardians of the Galaxy reskin over Tower of Terror, which was my favorite attraction, by the way. Best attraction of all time. They replaced it, how dare they, but they replaced it well. I cannot deny that. Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout is an experience I want to experience every time I'm in that. But we need to be realistic here. Universal can also mess up its opening. Not gonna matter if Disney also messes up all their stuff on top of that, okay? So that's all I'm really trying to say here. This isn't like Disney bad, ooh. This is like, Disney, please, listen, think, stop, and make sure that what you're doing right now is going to succeed. We don't know for sure if things will, if things won't. But we can't run the risk of not trying, right? So here's to hoping that all those attractions that'll be coming out are going to be fantastic. That Encanto is going to provide a unique experience involving moving furniture, possibly. Or that the Villain's Land is gonna make some awesome new Scar attraction that I've been waiting for all my life. Who knows? Anything can truly happen right now, and knowing Disney, they are very good at making it happen. So, cross your fingers, yell at me in the comments below. Let's get this coaster war going!